Oh man, dominating orcs is so much fun. I mean, imagine if I could do this in real life. I could do anything with anybody.
I shudder to think, you massive perv. Thank you. Works then. Cheers.
Snare? Amber Heard? Daddy? Anyone? Hi guys, welcome to Roguelike Gaming. Today we are reviewing Shadow of War.
Is it like that's the full name? Like
That's like Middle Earth, Shadow of War, Lord of the Rings.
Far too long.
Gollum, matey boy.
Yeah, far too long. But yeah, Shadow of War, as everyone is going to be calling it.
Yes.
It is the new game, second in the kind of franchise. I have to do the quotation marks because it's obviously based on a Lord of the Rings franchise.
Yes, I wish EA would get that friggin' franchise back because I want to play Battle for Middle Earth again.
Yeah, there have been quite a few good Lord of the Rings games. But this one, as a lot of people were expecting, just to be a carry-on from last time. I didn't even expect it, to be fair. I thought the last one was pretty encompassing, and Shadow of Mordor, being the first game, being a very closed game thing. It felt very ended.
But it made money. I mean, I think it was on one of our games of the year, wasn't it? For that year.
Yes, it was, even though...
Well, it was the previous year.
Yeah, that was a mistake of our part. Yeah. But obviously, if you've made a lot of money with a game, what are you going to do next as a company? You're going to...
make another one.
Yeah, and put microtransactions and loot boxes in and stuff, which everyone's lost their shit about.
Yes, it is something that's happening, and although we all moan and bitch about it, we still go and buy the game, so it's not going to go away.
No, I think it's very fair to say that it's not going to go away unless something actually does happen. I did mention in one of my videos recently about whether some kind of regulation is needed, apart from just the general general regulation that you get for
the American
products.
Board has basically said that they don't consider it gambling. So
yeah, but it is.
Kind of is, yeah.
Yeah, you're paying money to get some kind of reward. Potentially,
I think it's the form which it's in. A lot of the time, video games are looked down upon. I mean, it's becoming less the case, but it was always like, well, it's just a video game, so what the fuck? It's not like a casino or whatever. But
we don't want to dwell on that point. I mean, we know it's there.
I think we'll probably come back around to it a little bit later anyway.
Yeah, we'll probably mention it parts, but I don't want to make the whole review about microtransactions, loot boxes, and the morals of everything around it. But the game itself. So I'll just tell you my first impressions, and then we'll go a bit deeper into the game. So my first impressions were, I'm a bit bored because when you start the game off, it feels exactly like the first game.
I am very much. I think Snare's interest in the game ramped up as he played it, whereas mine tailed off. When I started playing it, I recognised some of the improvements they made to the previous game. I think the combat's better than it was before. And also there was a woman. I was curious whether or not I get to tap that. No, she likes the black man. But I was having a really good time when I first started playing it. And then it sort of started showing me new stuff I could do. And I was like, okay, cool. And then it just became, I'm going to be doing the rest of this stuff for the next 20 hours, aren't I?
Yeah, but as Lee said, my experience was completely the opposite. Started the game thinking, well, this is just the rehash of the first one to make a few bucks, and you're putting microtransactions and shit in it. But for me, when you actually got involved in the Nemesis system that this game is well known for, so that you are basically creating an orc army, you're dominating them, making them into your own personal fucking horde. That part of the game suddenly opened out, and I was like, do you know what? I fucking love this. This is great. There's a whole new... Suddenly the gates have been opened, and there's all this stuff to go and do that feels like it's... suddenly you get loads of things thrown at you, and you think, okay, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. and I can have orcs going to fight other orcs. I can have orcs going in the pits. I can have orcs infiltrating the head honcho before I go and attack the fort. Then I've got to defend my own fort. And it just became like huge, and we'll go into all that stuff in a minute. But that, to me, was like, this game is huge. It's suddenly expanded, and it's not the same as the first one.
I agree that the Nemesis system has been expanded. You can do a lot more, and you can capture captains now, which I don't think you could in the other one. I think when you dominated an orc previously, it was just to help you win that immediate fight, really. But I don't think they went far enough with it. I mean, I don't feel any sense of commitment, with the exception of Bruce.
The Australian orc.
Yes. I didn't feel any connection with the orcs that were on my side. I didn't really see them. They weren't really in world most of the time, I found. It would have been nice just to like have your warband and actually be able to identify them with them and sort of almost get to know them. Whereas they're just like names that you drop into.
I think they've tried.
Things. They've progressed, but I would like to see it going more. I think it's more of a tease that this is... that it's sort of like, well, we're going this way with it, but we haven't gone far enough to fully realise what you want.
I mean, for me, the two very, in the short terms, things to explain about this game is I really appreciate, and this is something I expected Lee to say, but I haven't heard him say it yet. The optimisation is fantastic.
It runs nicely, yes.
It's very smooth. And one thing I didn't notice whether they did it in the first game or not, but when you get a particular instance of an orc that you're going to fight, and you've already understood who they are through learning a bit more about their skills and abilities before attacking them. When they enter, if it's a particular mode, the actual chants are their name. And I don't think I noticed that in the first game.
No.
If they did it at all. So if you've got an orc named Dugs, they'll start chanting Dugs, Dugs,
Yep.
Dugs, Dugs. And it's like, okay, that's cool, because that had to have been done for the game. It's not like artificially created.
But then again, the intros do wear on me, because some of them are funny, some of them are just like threatening, whatever. But you can't skip them. You have to listen to this orc give his little diatribe, and sometimes, like looking at subtitles, it could be like 3 screens long. You need to be able to skip that shit, because you're in the middle of a fight sometimes, and another one pops up, and you're like, just get back to smashing the orc.
It's quite a lot more orcs are ready to jump on you and attack you. But before we go into all the subtle mechanics, we're expecting you guys to know about the previous game. So if you haven't seen our previous review on the first game, link will be in the description. I'll make sure of it, and then you can go and see that review later on, maybe before watching the rest of this one.
You can see me when I was young and fat.
But one thing to say about this game is obviously what it's about. If you're new to the franchise, it doesn't matter if you haven't played the first game. You might miss a little bit of backstory, but
they do a pretty good job sort of going through it.
They'll bring you up
to
speed
at the beginning. Yeah.
So that's not a problem. I think you can probably jump in. If you like killing orcs, you are going to love this game. That was my opinion last time.
It was. And
it stands true. I mean, the fighting mechanics are great. You basically have a guy bonded with a wraith. Is he called a wraith?
It's a wraith, because it's like Wraith World or whatever.
Yeah. So you're bonded with a spirit type dude who gives you powers over the orcs, and you can end up dominating them as well as slicing them into little bits.
And something that's going to make every Lord of the Rings fan roll their eyes: you forge a new ring.
I thought that was the ring.
No, that's not the one ring. That's a new ring that Celebrimbor forges for you to wear.
Oh, in the first game?
No, in the second game.
In the second game. I thought he was losing it in the second game. I'm completely lost track now.
Although, funny enough, the ring is actually an inventory item that you can switch out for better ones. So
yes, the gear system is actually quite good in the second game. I did like it. I didn't like the idea of it at first.
No, I really liked it. And they've brought in sort of the Diablo gem sort of thing, and that just makes me really OCD. It's like, if you look at my stash in Diablo, I've just got like rows of gems just sorted by size. And
the ones you'll never use, but you have to put it in a particular way.
Yeah.
But in this, yes, you have the gems. You forged a new version with the 3 versions of the lesser quality, and you'll push yourself up to the tops.
Yeah, and they have pretty good things, because you can do such things like damage, increase your health, or increasing experience you get.
Yeah.
Useful.
It is useful. But I mean, the basis of the game is it's a nice big fat open world with pockets of enemies sat around the place, and you'll end up running in, dispatching about 5 at once you get a few skills, and then collecting XP. What is the currency called? Because it's called Mithril in the last one.
Mithrilian or something.
Mithrilian. So you collect your sort of in-game currency. In the first part of the game, sort of first act, because I think it's broken down into 3 or 4 acts.
Yeah.
I've not completed the full game. I'll make that caveat now.
No, neither have I, and I don't think I'm going to. So.
No, but my situation, what I've done is I've got to a point where the game has opened up, and I can see how many hours you're going to get out of this game.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of content, but my main gripe with it is once it stop, you sort of get to the point where you're sorting fortresses, and that's kind of the last thing it introduces, really. And then you're just like, oh, good, I'm doing the same shit over and over again. It's my same problem with almost any open world game. There's no real variation of what you're doing. It's always the same activity. It's like, oh, I got to go look at this word and then solve a riddle, or I got to go here and pick up this item. It's all the same, and they've done that fucking horrible thing that I don't know if they're still doing it. They used to in Assassin's Creed, where you get like 0.5 of a femtosecond of video for picking up a memory, and you have to get the whole lot to watch the entire thing.
That only happened in the first game, really.
No, it was definitely there when you were like, I think 3 and 2 had it as well.
Yeah, well, it's a well-known thing, like jigsaw puzzle without actually having pieces.
Yeah, but it's just a cutscene. I'm fucking spending.
It's not even a cutscene; it's a cut.
It's like a memory about Shelob. And
yeah, but it's like you said, it's the difference between someone being like this and like that.
Yeah, it's like each one you pick up just as you're like, there must be 15 trillion. This is like a minute long.
That's no magic of editing. I actually just did that.
Yeah, he's like a body popper or something.
But yeah, this game is it's a surprising one. I was expecting to hate it.
I wasn't expecting to hate it. I was expecting to be bored by it almost immediately, and it got more out of me than I was expecting it did. I did enjoy it initially. We actually had not an argument, but a disagreement over email, because I was saying, oh, this is so much better than Assassin's Creed, blah, 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 and then it rapidly descended back to where it came from.
Well, my issue was that Lee hates Ubisoft.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say the game Assassin's Creed. You just hate Ubisoft.
Well, it's like I told you about this earlier. I had an epiphany about Ubisoft when I saw the Assassin's Creed Origins reviews coming out. And now you use a bird to mark targets, very much like you mark targets in Far Cry. They're just making... They were building towards just making one game, essentially, because all their games cross-pollinate, with the exception of stuff like South Park, because obviously that's a lot different.
And a few other of their games.
And something just fell away. Never mind.
But the point that this is getting to is one of the things I felt as soon as I started playing the first part of this game, which was very similar to the first game itself, was that this is an Ubisoft game. You have towers that you climb up and kind of view things around the area.
Yep.
You do have different abilities in combat, but you have one button for attack, like you do in Assassin's Creed.
I think the combat is a lot deeper, personally.
You have treasures.
Yep.
To go and find collectibles. And you also have the kind of the overarching feeling that it's this big open world. There's lots of things in it, and it just felt to me very Ubisoft. So for someone that hates Assassin's Creed / Ubisoft games to like this, I was thinking, well, what's the difference?
Well, I initially liked it, but then...
And now it's a Ubisoft game, is it?
It's not quite a Ubisoft game because I'm more interested in the license. But
if Ubisoft are watching, I like your games, for the most part. But you do fuck me off now and again. But Lee hates you, so we are a balanced viewpoint.
Well, I think, as I said in my reasons why I hate Ubisoft video, I think they can pull it out the bag. They are making some positive steps, but every game they release is just, yeah, I've seen this in all your other games. You're just putting stuff in from your other games into this new game, and you're just going to end up with like all of your games playing exactly the same.
So, back on to business.
Yes, let's move that back.
Because this could go on and on.
It could.
So, Shadow of War, to me, has those two definite parts of the game. First part of the game, running around killing orcs, collecting stuff, earning credits to level up bits and bobs, get your abilities up and up to scratch. You have a number of different combat mechanics and add-ons that you can put onto your abilities, and within those abilities you have like base abilities and then a selection of like an adaptation or an increase.
Yeah, there'd be 3 of each, and you can have one active at any one time.
But you can obviously unlock them and switch whenever you need to, so it's not a problem. But it's a very nice system, I think, that kind of expands a bit more on your abilities. So you might want to have particular like domination side of things where you can dominate really quickly, or you can instantly do it in combat or something like that, and there'll be different types within those particular abilities.
Yeah, I don't think there are enough abilities, because you will find... I mean, I've got a whole bunch of the ones the modifiers, because you only have one at once, I just tend to go for the one that suits my playstyle, and there's no reason to spend points on any of the others. So you'll just end up with a stack of abilities. I mean, I've unlocked almost all of the main ones, and I have played the game for a while, well, a considerable amount of time, but I'm nowhere near finishing it, I don't think.
I've looked about 30 hours.
I think I'm probably around about that.
I believe there's still probably... Actually, it might even be more than that. But I believe but still, I've got 10 to 20 hours left, I think.
Yeah, I'd say that was probably fair.
There's no Skyrim, and it's 300 hours.
No, and you can't make them naked and shag each other.
But one thing I did find, actually, was the facial animations felt a bit old.
Yes, I have to agree with you. I mean, the cutscenes look nice, and they're fine, but certainly when it's using the in-game engine, it's a bit...
Well, even as a cutscene, it did feel a little bit... I don't know, it seemed like Talion was the worst looking one out of the lot.
Yes, I agree. There's a lot more attention paid to the orcs than there are the human characters.
Yeah, which is the same last time,
yes.
And it's the same again. I don't understand why they've done that.
But even then, it's... Because the orcs are so... their appearance is so dictated by their classes as well. I found that the individuality of the orcs wasn't quite as good this time.
I think there was less armour. Like, when you got a particular orc made into a captain or something, he suddenly got this kind of ridiculous helmet and like bracers and body armor and stuff. And this time they just they walk into a spot and go, "Arr!" and that's it.
That's all promotions work. Don't you realise that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Come out the office at work. Arr! And they're
Gotcha,
like...
tiger. but yeah, these orcs they're very amusing. There's one guy. Well, there's 2 orcs that I actually remember vividly, opposed to all the others. The first one is Bruce, the Australian orc,
who's funny as hell.
He managed to do that really just beautifully animated. It's one of the funniest moments. And when you actually dominate him, he comes back with a lie. He looks really scared and then says, "Bright Lord, Dark Lord, doesn't really matter as long as I get to bash the meds in." It's like, that's great. I love that. But the other guy he had a guitar and he sings a song, or a lute, I suppose.
Yeah, probably.
And didn't bring an amp with him or anything. That would be ridiculous. But he basically plays this song about how he's gonna kill you and sing about it afterwards,
which I guess is also non-interruptible.
Yeah. But it's quite good to listen to. And then when he's fighting you hear these guitar strings like snapping and twanging as he's clobbering you with his guitar. It's quite funny. But there is some effort gone into the game in that respect. So.
Yeah, but that ties in what I was saying, because we both really enjoyed Bruce in it and thought he was funny, and then he just takes you through the tutorial of the raids and then disappears.
But I'd much rather him stick around. But also, I like the fact that it's an orc teaching you about it.
Yeah, but it's an Oligai.
He's an Oligai.
Yeah, Oligai. There you go. Got it, man. But yeah, that's what I wanted though. I wanted to have like a team that's like an archer that's really sort of snidey and sort of small and thin and all that. And then you have like your big bruiser guys and you actually get to know your orcs. That's what I wanted. But no, they're just fodder.
They are fodder, and I think that's one of the problems people had, especially with the loot box situation, where you would pay real money for something that gets used up.
So shall we come on to this now?
Well, it's just for that part of the orcs. I mean, like I said, I don't want it to be like a main focus point, but...
No, but I mean, it is like the elephant in the room, so... Right here.
All right. But, yeah, the loot boxes, you can buy lesser quality loot boxes with in-game currency, or you can spend gold that you can buy with real game currency, real life currency,
That's
real money, the monies.
Yeah, I think I have no problem with loot boxes. I mean, it's yeah, I know you do. It's how they're used is the main issue. For instance, like I used to play a lot of Hearthstone, and we have videos on the channel. Check them out. And I used to buy cards, decks of cards and shit, and all the time. And I enjoyed like spending money on them and opening them and seeing what I got. I like that aspect. So the fact that I can do that in game without spending real money is fine. If I wanted to spend real money, then I have that option. But it doesn't gate off anything if I don't do that. Now the places where I have more of an issue with it is where it does gate stuff off. So it gives you an advantage. So it's not, you're paying money just to change your experience. You're paying money to make you more powerful, to pay to win. That's where loot boxes are a little bit because you can go, like two people could spend £10 on loot boxes and then one person come out significantly better. That's a problem. Whereas if you get the wrong colour hat, it doesn't really fucking matter.
No, I mean, the weird thing is that in some games cosmetics do matter. So if you're playing like PUBG or fucking some kind of first person shooter type situation, if you're wearing a brightly coloured sweater, then that would pick you out against other people. Or if you could buy a camouflage sweater instead, whatever.
No, I kind of like the idea of like this guy running around the island with a Rudolph sweater on.
But in this game, you can earn those in with the real money version loot crates with in-game content, but it's a very big grind to get to the same space to spend the money.
Yeah, because you would normally buy gold, with raw money, but it does drop it in minute quantities.
Minute, absolutely.
So you can get like the bigger boxes. But
I say minute, but it is. I have seen occasions where doing like some of the bigger fortress invasions, you do get some bigger chunks of money, and I've got enough to buy a proper loot crate.
Oh, cool.
Now, but I don't know how often or how simple that goes. So if you buy the first one, does it cost more to get the second one, etc.? So I can't comment on that. But as I said before, my problem with these loot crates is that those orcs are expendable. So you're going to be spending real money on something that is digital and virtual anyway, and then it's going to disappear. You're literally giving money for nothing. I mean, the experience you get from it with Hearthstone is different because you're going to have those cards forever.
Yep.
You're going to use them and use them and use them. And I don't know, can you trade those back or trade those people?
You can recycle them. So you can basically get dust from recycling, which you can then craft
put towards cards. So you can do things with it. Whereas this game is not going to be a very long-living game. So you're paying money for something you will use in a very finite space.
But there are two types of loot boxes. I don't recall many videos actually mentioning this, but there are two types. You have your war chests, which give you orcs and power-ups for your orcs, and then you have the loot ones, which give you stuff for Talion.
Yeah.
So that stuff you will get to keep, or you can disenchant, much like Hearthstone, to get money as well.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff comes to you very quickly during the game, so you're not going to lose out by not buying these loot boxes.
No, definitely not.
But I think most people have a problem with them being there in the first place. When you're paying money for a full-price game, if it's going to cost more to develop, then put the price up. I want it to be very open, honest pricing with games. If it's something that's going to cost you, $60, fine. Then $60 is that. DLC can come out afterwards.
Well, I mean, it's not a cheap game anyway. I think it was 55, wasn't it? £55.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've just bought, the new Colossus for £40, and that's a brand new AAA without, microtransactions in it. So they're still charging you more.
Yeah, but this game particularly is all about the money grab.
They're definitely after it. I mean, they are pushing the boxes. There's no way you can get around it. It's in all the main menus. It's like, here's your icons for what's on offer today and shit like that.
And the worst part is when you do get gifted a chest, a battle chest to open for gear for Talion, where do you have to go to open it?
The market. So
it's in your face again. It's just little insidious little things that keep on popping the idea in your head. Well, if you just buy this brightly coloured box down here that's got some excellent things in it, it's just meh. But back to my point about the orcs. The orcs themselves are expendable, so you won't really get to know them individually. They won't become like your disciples and you can take them around and invade things. You will have an assault team. Basically, when you get to a point in the game where you've taken over a fort and beaten the guys in the fort with your band of orcs, you then have to defend your own castle where you're based and put orcs into an assault group that you can then take over other forts with once you've broken down the command chain and stuff and understanding who that person at the top is. Then you go and as you said before, it's very much similar. You will go in, defeat certain capture points, and you go in and fight the final guy.
One-on-one. Well, not one-on-one, 1-on-50.
Yeah, and
It's
then
like you have an entire army of orcs, would you? Why are you fighting this guy by yourself? Why can't you, foot soldiers come in and at least distract his foot soldiers? Because reasons.
Because I think less time has been spent thinking about that element of the game than they have thought about the Nemesis system itself. Again, to me, Nemesis system of creating and branding these orcs and making them work for you, I think that comes into the game far too late, because that's really fun.
Yeah, it's surprising because that was what was most lauded from the first game, and you would think the developer would be like, well, okay, we know what everybody liked from the first game, let's make it much more focused, and they have, but as Snare says, it does come in some way into the game.
And it seems to be a thing recently with games which you don't get the stuff you like until the end. So they're making you work for the things you want rather than...
Well, I mean, in the case of Nemesis feature, it's a flag tentpole system, isn't it? I mean, because that's what it's based on. That's why people are going, yeah, I'll buy the next game because I want to see what they do with it. And then to have to wait until they decide to introduce it, it's a little bit disappointing. It's not what you bought the game to do. You bought the game so you could experience it.
And they have improved the system. This is the bit that really frustrates me. The Nemesis system now is the kind of Nemesis system we would have wanted to see in the first game.
I agree.
So it's got the interactions, the far more interaction between orcs in this version, and there's a lot more things to do and a lot more things to think about. So you move slightly away from the arcade slash kind of RPG elements of the first game and go into a little bit more strategy and a little bit more kind of thinking and having to deal with a lot of stuff at the same time. And I like that. I think that's really good. But the problem is you're doing it right before the game fucking changes into all of this kind of fort, not building, but fort defending, attacking stuff, which is great, and it kind of opens up and makes you feel the game is really expansive. But it happens so late that you don't get used to what you're doing with your orcs, because then suddenly you move to a new area and you've got complete blank slate again. So you have to do the whole thing again, which is your problem.
Yeah, it's definitely my problem that we have to do the same things over and over again. This does decrease from my enjoyment of fighting as well, because when you first start out and you're defending a plaza in the opening city of the game, it feels epic and you're slamming these orcs and you're like, okay, this is cool, and then a lot more stuff and it makes it better. And then sort of I don't know, 10, 15 hours into it, you're kind of there's no benefit for fighting these orcs whatsoever. I don't get XP, I don't get anything for doing it. Only certain ones drop anything. So I'm just going to run through these guys, because I can just hold down my left stick and elf run through everything.
But it is fun cutting their heads off.
It's fun cutting their heads off, but you just see a big group of orcs, you're like, I can't be asked to do that. I'm just going to run to my mission marker. That's it.
I think the main thing is you want to practice all those skills before going up against the big guys, because you will have things like blood brother oaths as well. Yep. So if you have an orc that will be clearly connected to another orc, if you kill that one orc, his blood brother will come after you, and even if you've already branded him.
Yeah, which makes no sense because he's not acting under his own free will anyway. So why?
Science. And what you will find as well is a lot of the things like poisoning grog you've experienced.
Yep.
Someone will pop up. But I've had a situation where I had 4 captains on me at once, and they were all kind of big levels above me. I managed to kill them all.
Yes, I mean, I don't really bother. I mean, you have, in the first game, you have ways of gathering intel about captains, which can be found on tables or walls, or by interrogating the rats, as they call them,
the worms.
But I don't really. Yeah, that was it. I don't really feel the need to do it, because once you've got the ability to freeze a bad guy after you've vaulted over them, the only thing you want to know is, can I vault over him?
Yeah.
That's really the only information that's pertinent, and you can test that in the first second of battle by trying to vault over him.
Yeah, but if you are... the problem is, for me, if you want to kill the orcs, it's quite easy, because you just get some intel on them, find out what will kill them instantly, and then make that happen, whether it be stealth, animals, send some caragors after him, whatever, then you can just do that. But if you want to brand them, you have to not kill them,
Yeah.
which is a lot harder to do if you accidentally set off a trap that they're scared of, or they'll start running away.
Oh god,
and
tricky escapes. Fuck me, I hate that.
yeah, and all that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of annoying, but I suppose it's there because that's the bigger prize. I understand, that's fine. But at the same time, that element is a little bit kind of tiresome after a while. You get people that will if you are trying to brand them, and then you get them down to a certain level of health, they'll become enraged by mortal wounds, and then you won't have a chance to brand them because you have to kill them now. And then you find out that they're a blood brother of one of the fuckers that you've got because you wanted them to be together in your pack, and now you've lost 2 orcs. Instead of gaining 1, you've lost 2. And that sucks. So, yeah.
It's okay.
I just, there's elements I really do like about the Nemesis system, and there's elements I don't. I mean, the ambushes are great. I love those.
Yeah, I mean, they can be really inconvenient if you're in especially, hard fought fight, and then another guy that's just as high level as the orc you go in after turns up, you're just like...
Yeah, the tricksters who dodge every attack you throw at them, they're annoying.
Also, they can get reinforcements in battle, but you can't call your bodyguard while you're engaged in battle. That's a bit of shit.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, the Iron Will thing is a bit annoying, that you can't brand some orcs and you can't shame them because they're too high level. It's like, well, I've just beaten you to a pulp and I'm going to stab you in the head anyway. You better listen to my shaming. Okay? But
very bad orc.
On your bed. So, I mean, without going into like the whole story of the game, which is a very interesting story, I did feel engaged in that story. I don't quite understand why Shelob is a sexy woman now and not a big fucking spider for the most part.
Because it'll look weird hugging a big spider when she gives you a memory.
Well, Spider could do that with the kind of legs thing. I don't know. But yeah, I think they've just made Shelob into a sexy woman for
to
reasons.
be fair, she wasn't that overtly sexy. Yes, she was attractive, but they didn't really play it
Lee,
up
she
too
was
badly.
basically naked with a bit of fabric hanging off her.
That's called clothes, mate.
No, as in like it was wrapped round her arms.
Yes, but you never saw anything.
You tried, didn't you?
Well, you only saw you only really saw in cutscenes. Fuck off. I tried the right stick, it didn't move anything.
But yeah, so I think the story's in good shape. You won't be left lacking so far.
I don't agree.
I haven't completed the game, so I don't know what the end is.
I don't know what the ending is, but certainly from the storyline so far, it takes massive liberties with like the book and the films.
If you're a purist, you'll hate it then.
Probably. It felt to me just like something to hang the Nemesis system on. I wasn't really engaged in it. I was more engaged in the first one, which is the story of Talion's quest for revenge after his wife and kid had killed.
Yeah, and now he's become a warlord.
And now it's just like, yeah, I'm just going to fuck him up because I want power.
It sounds to me like he's been infected with the second ring. What is it, first ring?
No, whatever. No, but there are elements in the storyline about corruption and stuff like that, because he's obviously using a ring of power. So even though Celeborn was like, no, those other ones that we did, they would infect you and corrupt you. This one's all right, though, honest.
But yeah, I think on the whole, I'd recommend this game if you very much enjoyed the first one. If you've already got the first one, you probably got this one. But I would recommend it bang for buck. You are, without spending money on microtransactions, you're still going to get between 35 to 50 hours of gameplay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think you'll get your money's worth. Whether or not you'll have fun all of the time, I'm certainly not. I don't intend to play it again after this review. I don't know.
I'm going to finish it, I think.
Yeah, it became a real chore to play. I mean, I started playing it, I played like 6 hours straight. And then as subsequent sessions went on, they became shorter and shorter and shorter. And then I'm just at the point where I'd much rather play other things.
I would rather play other things, I'll be honest, but I don't think it's a bad purchase. If you like that style of game,
if you
enjoy it.
You've got a limited amount of money and you're looking for a game that's going to last you.
Don't buy this one.
Well, there are better choices, but this will last you longer.
Yeah, if you've got a limited budget though, this is still going to be like fucking 50 quid for...
Yeah, it's still an expensive game, but if you can afford like one of those per month or something, every couple of months, then it's not a bad one to look at. You'll keep you busy. It's not the best game ever, but there's a lot of content to it.
So out of 10, what would you give it?
Tough one. I'm split between 6 and 7. But,
Yeah, I think that's about fair. I think it's for me, the microtransactions do play heavy on my mind, but it hasn't affected my gameplay as much as I thought it would. Maybe it will
you were
do.
under the impression for a while you wouldn't be able to complete it without paying money.
That's what I'd heard, yeah. But I think it's more the fact that without a massive amount of grinding, or potentially just playing far too much of a game that doesn't deserve it. I personally think it's probably around the 6. So I don't think it's... The game runs well, it's got a lot of content, but it's a lot of busy work.
Yeah.
It's not inspired as much. It is rinse and repeat. And loot transactions?
Great.
So loot crates and microtransactions do play on my mind. And I think the game is good-ish at best, so it would have been more like a 7, but I'd knock a point off for microtransactions.
See, I don't really give a monkeys about the microtransactions because, as I said, they're not required, and you can buy them with in-game currency, which I'm fine with because there's not a whole lot to do with in-game currency in this game anyway. So that's fine. I have no problem with that.
Well, there is with the sieges.
Yeah, fair.
Spend a lot of money.
Money on like giving them like siege towers and beasts and
so close to 1,000 points each for bits.
The amount you get is fairly generous anyway, so you've always got some knocking around. So I don't mind spending it on loot boxes. That's fine. So it doesn't really affect it for me. I just think I wanted more. It's like the Nemesis system has progressed, but it hasn't progressed to the point where I want it. I mean, I want to be able to identify my orcs. I want to actually feel something when one of them gets killed, because it's just a name at the moment. It's a name with a funny voice attached. I don't give a shit.
Actually, I would have liked to have seen them having a death speech rather than an intro speech.
Well, some of them do, but then they get back up again.
I know when you're killing them, they have a death speech. But like one of your own orcs, if they said something when he died, that would have been good.
Avenge me, bright lord.
Something
I
like
love
that.
you.
Yeah. You're the best. And they all speak like that.
Or Antipodean.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my score. 6 out of 10 for Shadow of War. My poet don't even know it.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe in time.
Score and War. I'm not sure it's close enough together.
But yeah, that's my score. So about the 6 to 7 ish.
Yeah, I couldn't get it to a 7, so it would be a 6 or a 6.5. It'd be 0.56. That's 10 clearly. Bloodborne.
But guys, that was our review of Shadow of War. If you have liked listening to us ramble on for far too long about this game,
we have rambled a bit today.
But please let us know down in the comments what you thought, and subscribe if you haven't already.
Yes, and don't forget to ring the bell, and then you'll receive notifications for every time we put out a video, which is
during the week. Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays.
Saturday isn't during the week, you pillock.
Well, all those days are in part of a week.
Yes, but never mind.
You're making this go on far too long.
Yes.
Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Take it easy, guys. He's spending 60% of his life locked in his fucking car shooting the same things over and over.
Okay, that's a good point. We'll come on to this now. So, in this game, we now have access to... I don't know if it was in the last game or not. I didn't play that one, but the risk is much higher as well.
Yeah, it's not just a PvP area either. It's an area that allows PvP, but there are AI enemies in there, and they're all hella tough. It's definitely designed for cooperative play in there.
Yeah, and I'd actually suggest